Let's start with our first news. Dustin Poirier snaps on Nate Diaz after appearing on the Deep Waters podcast. Poirier says Nate looked horrible against Mike Perry and claims he will still knock him out. He adds they have been circling each other for years and the fight never happened. He suggests Diaz should be honest about pulling out or failing to reach UFC terms in past negotiations. Poirier says after that performance, Diaz should take a break, rest, and recover properly. He insists Diaz looked like a punching bag, off balance, with poor timing throughout the fight. He notes there were a few moments, including a clean three-piece and some jabs landed. He references a sidekick off the cage and compares it to what Diaz did against Tony Ferguson. He closes by keeping his invitation open at 170 pounds, agreeing to drug testing protocol, and saying he will knock Nick Diaz completely out. He repeats that the fight could have happened multiple times and calls out missed opportunities over the years. Poirier emphasizes that he is not trying to disrespect losses, but is being honest about what he saw in the cage. He states the striking, movement, and timing all looked off compared to Diaz's usual performance level. He concludes that the situation is not personal, but competitive analysis from a fighter's perspective. He again invites Diaz or any challenge at welterweight, keeping his stance firm and unchanged. He ends by reiterating confidence that he would finish the fight if it ever happens, maintaining pressure in his statements and standing by everything he said on the podcast, without backing down or softening his comments toward Diaz or his recent performance inside the cage, and standing by his prediction with full confidence in his fighting ability at welterweight division, always ready. Move on to another news. Ilia Topuria sends a warning to Josh Hokit following their recent altercation. Ilia Topuria sends a warning to Josh Hokit following their recent altercation. Ilia says the situation escalated quickly during the exchange, and it was only because security was present that things did not get completely out of control. He believes that without intervention, the confrontation could have turned physical and far more dangerous. Ilia made it clear that he does not tolerate disrespect, and especially not the kind of personal lines that were crossed during the incident. He emphasized that when emotions run high in fight environments, control and discipline become critical, and that moment was close to being lost entirely. According to Ilia, both men were already heated before the situation intensified, but what followed surprised even those watching closely. He stressed that fighters must remain responsible for their actions even in tense confrontations. Ilia also expressed that he was genuinely shocked by some of the comments made by Hokit during the exchange. He specifically pointed out that going after Pereira's family came out of nowhere and crossed a line that should never be touched in or outside combat sports. He described it as unnecessary, disrespectful, and completely avoidable, saying that such remarks only add fuel to already volatile situations. Ilia suggested that respect between athletes should remain even in rivalry, and once family is involved, the situation becomes unacceptable in his view. On top of that, Ilia weighed in on Ian Machado Gary's chances in the division, stating that skill and composure will determine how far he can go at the elite level. He noted that confidence is important, but consistency inside the cage matters even more when facing top-ranked opposition. Ilia believes the division is highly competitive, and every fight exposes weaknesses that must be corrected quickly. He added that rising contenders must stay focused, avoid distractions, and improve constantly if they want to survive at the top. Ilia closed his comments by reinforcing that his attention remains on high-level competition and that any unnecessary drama only delays real progress inside the sport, keeping his stance firm on professionalism and discipline throughout his assessment of both the altercation and the division's future direction. Ilia reinforced that every athlete must understand consequences inside and outside the cage, because reputation, discipline, and performance. Move on to another news. Ilia Topuria destroys sparring partner with a brutal body shot in training as intensity builds ahead of upcoming clash with Justin G. According to reports from camp, sparring partners say Ilia has been landing heavy body shots throughout the session, with repeated damage coming especially from vicious liver shots that forced opponents to slow down under pressure. One training partner admitted that his liver was completely messed up after the rounds, describing Ilia Ilia's pressure as non-stop and overwhelming from start to finish inside the gym. He added that based on what he felt in training, Ilia will finish Justin G in the first round, showing full confidence in his power and timing ahead of the fight. El Matador also addressed the recent altercation involving Josh Hokit at the UFC White House press conference. Ilia said Hokit crossed the line during the exchange and was surprised by some of the comments made, especially those involving personal disrespect during the confrontation. He emphasized that respect in combat sports is important, and situations can escalate quickly when emotions are not controlled inside high-pressure environments. Ilia further explained that while intensity is normal in fight camps, crossing personal boundaries is unacceptable and can lead to unnecessary conflict outside the cage. He closed by reiterating his focus on elite competition, stating that discipline and control separate top fighters from everyone else in the sport. Ilia also made it clear that his preparation remains centered on performance, with training partners pushing each other to the limit every single day in camp, and he believes this level of intensity is exactly what prepares him for high-level opposition like Justin G. According to insiders, Ilia's striking development has been one of the most noticeable improvements in his recent camps, especially his ability to target the body and break down opponents systematically over multiple rounds. Coaches around him believe that if he continues at this pace, his finishing rate will increase, and fights will not need to go deep into later rounds when his body work is landing consistently and effectively early on. He remains focused on upcoming competition and continues to train at high intensity, believing that every session brings him closer to peak condition and prepares him for the challenges ahead inside the division at the elite level. His confidence and momentum continue to grow with every training day inside camp. Move on to another news. Khamzat confronts his teammate over helping Sean Strickland ahead of UFC 328. The situation escalated after a former teammate turned rival camp member added tension ahead of a potential rematch. Dennis Tulin, a UFC middleweight who trained with Khamzat for years before joining Sean Strickland's camp, spoke about the issue. He revealed that he was confronted after the fight and accused of sharing inside information from training sessions. He said he does not regret his decision and that his loyalty lies with Strickland and his team. The situation adds more heat to an already tense rivalry, with Khamzat actively pushing for a rematch. However, Sean is dealing with shoulder injuries that could sideline him for around 10 months. There is also a real possibility the matchup could be delayed until both men are ready. Now let's dive into what Dennis had to say. He said the fight was tense, technical, tough, and dramatic, with strategic changes throughout. He explained that surviving against Khamzat requires calmness and psychological pressure against him. He added that small details and pressure helped Sean secure the win. He also admitted he helped prepare Sean for the fight and later met Khamzat after the bout. He said Khamzat was not happy and believed he had shared inside information. He concluded that he only did what he had to do for his teammate. Ilia is turning up the intensity in his camp as he prepares for his next challenge inside the division. Sources say his training sessions have been extremely aggressive, with heavy body shots being a key weapon. Coaches believe his focus on body work could be a major factor in future fights. Insiders also say his confidence is rising with every round he completes in sparring. He remains fully focused on elite competition and improving every aspect of his game. The team around him believes this version of Ilia is the most dangerous yet, especially with his ability to end fights early. They say his recent performances in training reflect a fighter entering his peak physical and mental condition. He continues to sharpen his skills daily while preparing for high-level opposition in the division. His mindset remains locked on winning and delivering dominant performances as he moves closer to another major fight announcement inside the UFC landscape. At the highest level of competition in the sport, overall focus remains sharp. Move on to another news. Dana White signed fighter who had altercation with Arman during a tense moment at a recent MVP MMA event. Over the weekend, Namo Fazil secured a major victory, defeating Jake Baby via Anaconda choke in the second round after a strong performance inside the cage. Following the win, he called out Arman in his post-fight interview, which immediately escalated tensions between both fighters. Arman clearly did not appreciate the call-out and confronted him cage-side, with emotions spilling over as security moved in quickly. He attempted to jump the railing to reach him and later followed him backstage for another intense confrontation that required staff intervention. During the heated exchange, Arman could be heard demanding answers as officials quickly stepped in to separate both men. Security eventually brought the situation under control, preventing any further escalation between the two sides. Despite the incident, Namo Fazil's momentum continued to grow, with major attention coming from UFC executives. It was later announced that Dana White had signed him to compete on the Contender Series on August 11th. If he performs well, he could secure a UFC contract very soon and officially join the roster. This signing comes as a major step forward in his career, especially after a breakout performance that gained widespread attention across the MMA community. UFC insiders believe his aggressive style and finishing ability make him a strong candidate for a future contract under Dana White's promotion system. The altercation with Arman has also added more attention to his name, increasing his visibility ahead of the Contender Series opportunity. Many fans reacted strongly to the cage-side confrontation, with clips of the incident spreading quickly across social media platforms. Promoters quickly intervened backstage to prevent further issues, ensuring both fighters were separated before the situation could escalate again. Despite the chaos, the event continued without major disruption, and attention remained on the fighter's future inside the sport. Sources suggest UFC leadership is closely monitoring his progress, especially given the growing rivalry narrative involving established contenders. He now stands at a pivotal moment where strong performances could fast-track him into one of the biggest promotions in the world. With momentum building and eyes on his next appearance, expectations continue to rise as fight fans watch his development closely moving forward. Inside the UFC pipeline for potential debut in the near future stage now developing. Move on to another news. Ilia Topuria predicts Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado, Gary, offering a surprisingly open and unpredictable outlook on the matchup. Ilia says that even though Islam Makhachev is an elite champion, the fight is not as one-sided as many people believe. He emphasizes that Ian Machado, Gary, has shown clear growth inside the UFC, improving his timing, distance control, and confidence with each performance. He suggests that in MMA, anything can happen in a big fight, and no opponent should ever be written off completely. According to Ilia, moments of opportunity can change everything inside the cage, especially when high-level strikers and grapplers collide under pressure. He also points out that Islam Makhachev has been knocked out before in his career, implying that while he remains dominant, he is not completely untouchable. Ilia adds that one clean shot at the right moment could shift the entire outcome of the fight if concentration drops even slightly. Meanwhile, Dana White reacted strongly to the recent altercation involving Ilia Topuria and Josh Hokit at the press conference, making it clear he was not happy with how things escalated. Dana stated that he does not want fighters getting hurt over stupid situations that have no real impact on actual fights or rankings, especially when the athletes involved are not even scheduled to compete against each other. He specifically referenced the incident at the White House press conference, where tensions flared between multiple fighters, including a heated moment involving Alex Pereira. Dana explained that the situation was unnecessary and goofy, pointing out that emotions often run high at media events, but it should never turn into real physical danger between competitors. He questioned the logic behind such altercations, stressing that these athletes are not opponents in the cage and therefore have no reason to escalate personal conflicts outside competition. Despite criticizing the incident, he acknowledged that the sport continues to grow, and fighters often use confrontation as a way to build attention and hype around their names. Ilia, however, remains focused on performance and competition, continuing to analyze elite-level matchups like Islam versus Ian Machado, Gary, while maintaining confidence in his own rise through the division. He believes the UFC landscape is constantly shifting, and new contenders like Gary can disrupt established champions if the right opportunities are taken at the right time. The discussion closes with the broader message that in MMA, unpredictability is always present, and even the most dominant champions must remain alert in every second of every fight as the division continues to evolve at the highest level of competition. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier and Ben Askren criticized the MVP MMA event, saying many of the fights were heavily one-sided and lacked real competitiveness across the entire card. They said the biggest issue was that almost every matchup felt completely dominant from one side, with very little back-and-forth action inside the cage. According to them, there was not a single fight on the card that felt moderately competitive, which reduced excitement despite the presence of highlight moments and knockouts. They acknowledged that finishes and spectacular moments are important, but emphasized that the best fights in combat sports are those with true back-and-forth exchanges. They explained that while boxing sometimes builds athletes by matching them against lower-level opponents, MMA is different and relies more on competitive balance to grow excitement. They also pointed out that many fighters on the card were already established names, often in the later stages of their careers, which limited long-term star-building potential. Because of that, they argued there was less opportunity for developing new stars or creating meaningful rivalries that fans could invest in over time. Ben Askren added that this issue is not new and has been seen in other promotions as well, especially when matchmaking does not produce evenly matched contests. He stressed that fighters need proper dance partners in order to build momentum, credibility, and fan interest through competitive performances. He reflected on his own career, saying that when he moved between organizations, he sometimes struggled to find opponents who could truly match his level. Daniel Cormier agreed with this idea and said that without evenly matched competition, even talented fighters can struggle to become major stars. They both used the example of Francis Ngannou, saying his situation after leaving the UFC shows how difficult it is to build a career without strong competitive matchups. According to them, Ngannou has had trouble finding opponents who can elevate his profile in the same way the UFC roster once did. They explained that without consistent, high-level competition, it becomes difficult